Hey everyone! It's great to be back with you all again. It seems that just after I had finished writing up my script for the Final Fantasy XVI video, along comes the Game Awards with a very unexpected announcement. Not only was upcoming DLC for Final Fantasy XVI revealed to be in 2 parts, but the entire first chapter was available to download and play immediately! What a night, huh? After getting the chance to play through it all and try out all of the new equipment, as well as finish the add-on through the game's hard mode, or Final Fantasy mode, I'm ready to talk about my thoughts on it. Strap in, and we'll see just how well Echoes of the Fallen turned out.
Now lads, what am I always telling you? Good things come to those who run! Wait for us, Chief!
Taking place before the game's final battle, but only accessible after completing a handful of other side quests first, the new quest begins after talking with Sharon. A new type of crystal, known as a dusk crystal, begins appearing on the black market with similar properties to that of the previous crystals, despite having a different color and less power behind them. We find out that this is due to some merchants who encounter an ancient ruin, where they would locate the crystals, mine them, and sell them on the black market. But what is this mysterious ruin that the crystals came from? Are they the sign of a new mother crystal that Clive and co may have missed? Or is there more than meets the eye? What follows is a trek through some brand new areas, with the majority of your time being spent in an ancient ruin, uncovering the origins of these mysterious new crystals and doing everything in their power to stop them. Before delving back into the story, let's talk real quick about what this expansion gives you aside from the story content. For one, the level cap has now been raised from 50 to 55 on the normal difficulty setting, and from 100 to 105 in Final Fantasy mode. You'll also come across some new equipment charms while exploring the ruin. Unlike the charms given at the beginning of the game, which I thought to be far too hand-holdy and not worth using, I found these new ones to be generally well made, as these would each allow you to focus on one preferred attribute, like dodging or getting hit, and use that as a buffer for charging up your health or limit meter faster. These also proved extremely useful against the expansion's final boss fight, which we'll get back to a little later. Oh, and there's a couple of other cool pieces of equipment, one of which may look familiar. You also have the ability to craft a new, stronger weapon once the quest is complete, assuming you manage to find all of the items required to make it in the new ruin. It's pretty clear based on the level cap increase and the requirements to even access this quest, that Echoes of the Fallen was meant to be seen as a form of endgame content. I believe the development team heard the feedback of fans who wanted more of a proper final dungeon area leading up to the final battle with Ultima, and we appear to have finally gotten it. It also happens to address one other major complaint that many, including myself, had with the game in the first place: the difficulty. As someone who found both the main story mode and Final Fantasy mode to be far too easy, even without any charms equipped, it was so refreshing to see some truly difficult battles and mini-boss fights as Clive and the gang fight their way to the top of the ancient tower. For the first time in my entirety with this title, I found myself actually looking out for extra potions lying around, as I found myself getting hit and losing health much more frequently than any other point in the game, speaking from my experience playing it on Final Fantasy mode, as I wanted to play this expansion at its most challenging. But the real highlight of this expansion, and the part that will arguably make this worth the asking price for many, is the final battle against a machine simply called Omega.
Quite. And if we want it...
If we want it, all we have to do is kill an icon.
I am happy to say that this battle is without question the most difficult fight in the entire game, and for the first time, a proper challenge for those like myself who were craving more intricate battles. This fight makes Savarg look like a tutorial battle. The boss goes through multiple phases with attack patterns that are far less predictable than any enemy before it. Certain attacks also take extremely large chunks of your health out rather quickly. Hope you've been leveling up. Had this chapter been included with the main game to begin with, I think there would have been far less complaints about the game's difficulty overall. Omega was a proper super boss and exactly the type of fight I was hoping we'd come across in the main game. After this beautiful nightmare of a battle is over, you're given a final set of scenes to conclude the story. While I didn't find this story to be particularly mind-blowing or anything, as the lore really felt more in line with something like the Tower of Babel and other similar stories, it did help expand on the lore of Valisthea in general, and left me feeling overall satisfied by the time I was done. I absolutely will not miss seeing those merchants again, though.
Besides, one man's ordeal is another man's opportunity, as the old saying goes.
I don't recall ever hearing that one, but fine.
So, how did I feel about this overall? Was it worth the price of admission? Well, that's going to depend on who you ask, and what you may have been looking for here. This content was clearly designed to give us more of an endgame type dungeon, and on that front I'd say it delivers. The fact that it blends so seamlessly into the main game is great, but doesn't exactly help sway those who felt this may have been previously cut content in the first place, being sold back to us for extra. There are still no other playable characters besides Clive. This is also not the Ifrit vs. Leviathan extravaganza that's likely to come in the next DLC, nor does it have any real Icon vs. Icon battles in any capacity. Those hoping for any further information on the game's ending are also out of luck. Had this been priced like its upcoming The Rising Tide DLC, I would have taken issue, but for $10, I'd argue it was fair for the content we got from this. New equipment, an increased level cap, a new story and area to explore that will take most players between 3 and 5 hours to complete, and my new personal favorite boss battle in this game really made this worth the revisit. While I don't think this is going to fix every issue that most of us had with the main game, it does show that the development team has been listening to and taking fan feedback seriously, and for that I'm grateful. If they can keep this up, I have no doubt that The Rising Tide can also be something truly special. But for now, this was more than fun enough, and I'm personally glad I took the time to go back. Your mileage may vary. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Did you get to play this DLC yourself? Tell me your thoughts about it in the comments below. And if you're feeling generous, please consider supporting my Patreon, where awesome people like CLO, Brandon, Erica, and Jedi Dude all help to keep this channel going. Until next time, my friends.